Good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, January 26th, and it has been a cold, wet, miserable week. But I've still gotten work done. The boat still progresses in all sorts of different ways. So let's get into it. Let's break down what we got going on. So first thing we got is right here behind me. This is my Companionway cover, right over here. And you can see I ripped it off. I actually cut it off. And it was the only way to do it. And the way I was going to do it. But let's take a look at why that was. So you can see here where I actually made the cut and went all the way down with it, and then I've grinded a little bit of material away. This is so I can epoxy it very soon, because if you look over here, it would come underneath this and end with this secondary piece over here. It was all one piece, and the only way to get it off was to pop the traveler off, which I'm not gonna do that. That's way too much work. So I said, you know what, the heck with it. I can cut it, and then I can just glue it all back together with epoxy and fiberglass resin. Exactly what I'm gonna do, and it's gonna look just fine. So that's been a big change. The other thing is that this is the beginning of the larger project of waterproofing my cockpit. So normally when I'm sailing, a wave comes up, splash hits the deck here, goes right down into here, and then into my cockpit. It doesn't spray me, but it flows like a river all along the cockpit, and it's super annoying. So I'm sealing it all up. And one of the first places I have to start with are these scuppers right here. This thing has holes in it to drain the water, but those water drains also allow the water in. So in order to do one thing, I had to do another thing. In order to do that thing, I had to do something else. Long story short, it all hinged on getting this done. It just rains, this is a little wet, but you can see this is nice and pearly white. This is what the whole boat is gonna look like pretty soon here. I'm very excited. You can see, I mean, just the difference of it. It's probably gonna be pretty bright when the sun's really out, but it'll look nice. Be nice and clean. Yeah, to move away from this, it's kind of this beige, sandy almost color. Not a huge fan of it. Didn't really mind it, but I just figured as long as I'm doing everything else here, I might as well go full bore. So yeah, so this is now back in place again, and now I can put this cover back on, match that up with it, and I'm gonna just epoxy. I'm gonna drill it in so it has a little more structure, and then I'm gonna just epoxy all around it. And that'll make it stronger, and no water will be able to get in anymore. Let's see what that looks like. Boom. So there we go. Now you can see the cover actually back on. These are the scupper holes where most of the water will go in, and then it'll come all the way through the cockpit into there. No longer. Gonna follow all along this, glass all this. I'm gonna give it just a little bit of glass along here, lightly attaching it to the wood of the traveler. If I ever have to take up the traveler, I'm just gonna smash that with a grinder real quick. It won't be much at all. And then just a little bit of glass to put it right back down. It should be pretty simple. But yeah, this will come up, so now this whole thing will be one sealed box. Now there's the problem of water coming in this way and water coming in this way. I put a little line here, so I'll be doing just a little speed bump, not even as, well, probably about as thick as my pinky finger, that'll just go from here to here. And then I think I'm just gonna do a piece of fabric, like some umbrella that'll come down. And that'll pretty much be it. I want the lines to be able to still move freely, but once that's done, I can cover up over here and start on that. Before we go to the cockpit, let's take one more look forward here. One other thing I've been doing this week, ta-da! I think I sanded this whole thing in like 20 minutes. I put a wire bit onto my grinder, and in about 20 minutes with a respirator and full face covering, had as much dirt out as I wanted. So this just looks 100 times better. This is a sand color paint that I had left over. I figured, why make it white? It's gonna get dirty anyway. I want people to see there's a difference between the cockpit and the deck up here. So you can see, I also did here the same color. But once I close it, it'll all be that white. So that was actually a pretty quick project. I didn't tape anything, I just went ham at it. And that's the beauty of doing this overhaul, that I don't have to tape things so much. I mean, I will once I really get going to, you know, closer to my my jib sheet rail and things like that. I'll have to start actually taping, but for now I can just fly by the hip, and I like that. So the Dodger got repaired this week. It's been off and then back on before I had a chance to do a video. No big deal. But yeah, it was definitely a bit of a pain to get this thing back on here. And unfortunately, the old isinglass is still on underneath here because it adds support, but it warped and pulled the fabric. So this does not want to meet. I figured out a pretty little ingenious solution though. We're gonna thread like a bolt into there, like a rope bolt with fabric on it, and then just put new snaps and connect it. So we're just gonna be able to extend that without even bringing it to a shop, but we'll see how that goes. She's still working on a few other things, so I know she's busy. The other thing that she did that I absolutely love is this is now held in place by a zipper. These are just here as a little bit of extra to keep the tips down, but look at that. She did a perfect job on this. She also brought up the corners a little bit, so it's pretty flat all the way across. And I just love this. Before, when the wind would really blow, these weren't really enough. It would bag and catch and then sag. But with this zipper here, it'll give it even, I mean, maybe this will be able to flap a little. I doubt that even with the bungees right here. So that was great. She added new padding. And something else I asked her to do was to add zippers, because I'm gonna zip my own, or sew my own panels I want to go to the side and back on this. It's a little frustrating when as soon as it rains, the whole cockpit becomes unusable. I don't mind so much back there, but especially this space is nice to be able to just set up things and leave it. So eventually, for like 150 bucks, I'm gonna get a sewing machine, teach myself how to sew, and just put some light material up there, see how I like it for a season. Plan to probably have a professional do it, but there's a few other simple sewing jobs I want to do. Moving on, let's check out the inside of this space here. Here you can see the other part that I cut from this. So this just goes in like so. That's it. Now I had to cut it here because this was all one piece. The only way to get it up was to remove the whole traveler, which I wasn't gonna do. So now this is back. You can see I've grounded all these spots out. So this should all be a pretty easy repair. I'm gonna goop up some West Systems epoxy with Cabosil and some fiberglass shards. Goop all that up, smear all that. I'll have tape between the crack in here, and I'll get that to go all the way across, and then I'll just sand it all down and we'll be good to go again. Now over here is a little bit trickier. So this is where this little design I'm doing is gonna be a little bit interesting. I have to bridge from here to here and make it so I can put my foot on it, because nobody's gonna remember to not step here. I don't wanna make it that. It needs to be able to withstand 1 foot. So I'm gonna put probably a piece of wood from here over, and then I'm gonna put a fiberglass mat here. I'm gonna make, actually make a fiberglass mat that'll go over through here and seal it up from over here, under, all the way around, up, under, and then back like that, just like this thing is. So when water does hit this, it just pools down and goes away. That'll be fantastic. Then I'll be able to run my lines through underneath here. There'll be a little bit of fabric to stop most of the spray and a little speed bump, so a little water can still get back in. I can't do too much about that, but it'll be so minimal. If I really want to, I could just put a towel right here, a little hand towel, and that would stop it. So pretty happy about all that. It's definitely been a little frustrating trying to work in these confined spaces, but it is happening. All of this will be painted soon as well. And while I had this off, I even polished the stainless behind here, so this slides pretty nicely now. I didn't paint anything else because this was the only thing that had to be painted before it went in, because it all hides underneath it. Everything else is out in the open, and I can paint it at my leisure when the weather's a little bit warmer and a little bit drier. That's what's been difficult, is it's been so cold and so rainy that the paint takes a long while to dry, which my surfboard, saw some use this past week when I went kiteboarding with the boys. It did great. It's only got 1 coat on it and it held up. I'll probably do another coat when I feel like it, but I'm very happy with that. When I put that up against the side of the boat, it'll match, it'll look beautiful. And I can now put in a forward and a rear foot strap, get some extra use out of it. I'm just over the moon, very happy. Let's keep this going. Pretty much on my last thing down here, you can see some of the painted wood that's gone back in. I use that same beige paint that's up there in the anchor locker, and it might not be that noticeable to you guys, but I think this looks a world better than it was before. I didn't even realize it was gonna match what's already here, so that's a big plus. But I was able to get the macerator back in easily, so that's good to go. I think I have most of my hose clamps. I need to hose clamp over here, but toilet's pretty much in. I haven't stopped to put the raw water in yet because I'm not sure what my water maker system's gonna look like. So I'm holding out just a little bit longer to see how that's gonna go. You may have noticed that there is a piece of stainless steel in here. Well, I thought, what would be cooler than having a piece of glass in here? What if this was stainless steel? And what if I polish the stainless steel all the way to a mirror? That'd be kind of cool. So I'm gonna give that a shot, see what happens. Worst comes to worst, I've still got this circular, dirty, rusty mirror, but I thought that'd be pretty cool. So anyway, that ends it here for me, you guys. It's been a bit of a monotonous week. I'm excited to be done with that Companionway, especially, then scuff and paint the top deck, then give it another coat, and then be done with the top deck and start moving my way down, working on the top coat on the top side, working on the bottom paint, getting a propeller, getting my chain. That's pretty much it. I'm looking at about a month left here at Riverside, and then I can be back on the water. I've started working on a few plans because it seems like getting into a marina is really, really, really difficult right now for pretty much everybody. But even if I can't find any marina spaces, I'll just anchor out for a while. I think the boat's good. I think that'll be a great way for me to get used to being back out on the anchor while still having, you know, all the necessities and niceties of being here in the US. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to get working, get out of here. The boat's on that tipping point where it's just about, all the projects are just about to come together, and I can make some significant progress, take a step back, look at the boat, and be thrilled. Look at a whole new boat, basically. So I'm very, very excited for that. This concludes the public video that I do as a weekly catch-up for my channel, just to keep you guys engaged with what I'm up to and what I'm doing. But I do a more in-depth video for my patrons. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons. That'd be Todd Howman, Jeff Mead, Dustin Holland, Rollin' with the Tide, Evan Skeeve, and Alexander Taylor. Thank you guys so much. You guys make these videos possible, and I'd love to see some more of you guys on there. So if you like these videos, if you want to support these adventures, learn more about what I'm doing, have a direct line of communication, all that fun stuff, shoot on over to my Patreon, check it out. I'll see you guys soon. Cheers.